Oh, it's heating up, ladies and gentlemen. 91 degrees on May 19th. No, I'm not sitting in the shade because I'm scared of the sun or the heat. I would actually be out there if I could. It's that I don't want my phone to overheat while I'm likely talking into the camera for 15 minutes. Because it's not just the weather, it's playoff time. Heating up. And we, unfortunately, are cooling off a bit.
Something that I gotta do with both on.
All right, first things first, unfortunately, no, please don't do it. Yeah. 50% win record now all time against Cloud9, which I'm not happy about, but alas, here we are. That series was ugly, like genuinely ugly other than like 15 minutes in game 2. And there's a very pivotal question that I want to ask that is separate from the macro conversations that we've had over the last few weeks. It is a draft question. Because when you look at these two drafts, the first thing that comes to mind is once again, we are doing this thing where we put ourselves on a timer. There is a ant crawling on my phone right now. Game 2 specifically, if you do not carry out the lead early on, it is going to be impossible to kill the Scion. And yes, our macro decision making in the game was ultimately what let us down the most. But game 1 was also just a slap. Like Ezreal, for whatever reason, we do not play this comp well. My biggest issue is that it feels like we're going for very hard to execute styles, which, similar to exactly what happened in Lock-In, is kind of happening now, where when the pressure gets turned on and you need to you need to close out these games cleanly, we don't. We do the farthest thing from it. Like, look at the engage tools that exist in this game 1 draft. I know I'm kind of bouncing between the two, but it's the same general philosophy of like, we lack the engage, or we lack the ability to go into late game, or you just put some sort of limitation on yourself when it comes to these drafts, which then, if anything goes wrong, ever so slightly, you're kind of screwed. And against good teams, we're not going to be able to hands check our way back into some of these series. Everybody's generally getting better, and our ceiling is a little bit more known than most. So I'm not happy with this at all in any way, shape, or form. Like, I don't want to have the same conversation that I feel like we had before, where we leave this split wondering, why didn't we commit to more like late game scaling or easier to engage? Like, we know that it is going to be a problem with games slowing down in playoffs and things getting more tense and more mistakes being made. Understand that and adapt to it. Like, I'm sorry, we got to drop the ego to a certain extent and just do what will actually work. There was an interview this past week that came out prior to our series that noted that our drafting is done in coordination with the players rather than just like coaching having a ideology and kind of going from there. I think it's a problem. I genuinely think it's a problem. It's fine if it works, but the second it starts falling apart, in my opinion, it's an issue. And our drafts need to rebound very quickly because we have our most important series of the split coming up. A best of 5 against Lyon, where if we drop this early on, yes, technically we go into the loser's bracket, but I'd rather give ourselves a little bit more time, and getting a quality win here when we've lost the last 2 is actually going to be really important for momentum and our mentality in general. But before we get to that, I do want to touch quickly on some stats from this particular split, because I took a deep dive. I shared them over on the Team Liquid Reddit, and I'll paste the highlights on either this, I don't know what side it'll be on. And the overarching picture is very clear. We statistically are the 3rd best team in the league. Like, we are very much appropriately right. There are some teams that you look at like individual statistics and say, that doesn't really mesh with the eye test. Like, the stats are actually better than you would expect or worse than you would expect for some. Like Surdy, you kind of have to ignore because the stats are just like obnoxious, like good against bad teams in the league. So like you kind of temper expectations given the limited schedule. But for us, I mean, if you remove expectations, 3rd place really isn't all that bad. But when you take into account that we're expected to win, that this roster very much is built to win now, unlike FlyQuest, who's built for the future, it paints a worrying picture. Yawn, looking at his stats, his damage per minute's great. The LCS just tweeted out a graphic saying, yeah, 3rd highest in the league, which normal for ADCs for them to be within the top 10 or so. but his kill participation, which takes into account the amount of kills that happen on our team and whether he's participated in them, is very low. The lowest of any ADC in playoffs relative to the other teams left. That to me signals that we're not getting Yawn in these fights. And that was shown this past weekend against C9, where in many of these fights, Yawn is sectioned out or siloed off because our team kind of fragments and splits into two different pieces. And one side chases a fight and an opportunity, which is fine. The other side just kind of leaves Yawn hung out to die. And when he's playing a champion like Caitlyn, that's not what you want to do. You want to make sure that he's given the opportunity to press the issue and deal his damage. The fact that he is dealing the third most damage in the league despite that is actually kind of incredible when you think about it. Jose Dioto's stats back up that he very much is the best jungler in the league right now. Yes, I think he got a bit gapped against Blabber this past weekend, but overall, like, body of work is what I mean in reference to. I would argue that Blabber has the momentum and the head advantage going into playoffs itself, but like body of work for regular season, yes, Jose Dioto was the best jungler this split. Should be first team All-Pro in my opinion, despite the two losses at the end where I think he looked pretty good against Lyon. Jumping down to support, stats are really hard to tell with somebody like Core JJ. He's more of a veteran leader of the team, so you kind of just expect things to be not measured by any particular number. Morgan is the one that I think you throw the second most amount of criticism to, because he was brought in with the assumption that he is just going to dominate this league or be like the best in his particular role, and he has been so far from that. He's been like third or fourth, which fine, but like again, when you're importing and that's the expectation, that's different. Okay, you're not importing a rookie. You're not importing somebody that should be given time in this situation. You're importing somebody that should come in and immediately be able to either clock in lane or clock in team fights and show dominance and prowess there. He has not, for whatever reason. That may be due to the team, or like, I'm not sitting here saying it's entirely his fault, even though the onus is on him to figure it out. But so far, it's not working out like it's been promised to, which creates tension and animosity, at least from the fandom point of view. But the worst is Quid. Quid is very much mid. This is a former MVP of this league. This is somebody that you brought in with the intention of being the best mid laner in the league. And he ain't that right now, okay? I don't have the ability to track the stat. I don't know if anybody does. But I would love to know the percentage of hit abilities for Quid over the last 2 weeks compared to the rest of the league. Because even though he definitely throws more punches than most, it feels like he has missed so many abilities that simply just either wide left, wide right. He'll try to be the initiation on Yone, and once he whiffs, then guess what? The team fight's chalked because we have no other engage otherwise. It just makes it difficult to play. It's not like Quid's playing god-awful. There are moments where he's getting caught out, and it's bad, but I think a lot of people on our team, specifically Morgan, is getting caught out a good bit before fights, and then we're going in 4v5. But Quid is just mid right now. And I hate, like, that sounds way more derogatory than it necessarily should be, but again, weight of expectations puts him above most other people in this league. So yeah, it does sting. I know many people have pointed out that this is a common Team Liquid thing that kind of happens, but it's my first time experiencing it. And yeah, expectations mean a lot here whenever you build it up to be something that it's supposed to be, and you don't deliver either on that promise, or it's the repetition of like a similar answer to that problem. It's going to be interesting. Now, playoffs can obviously absolve everything. Playoffs could make this entirely fine, but the Lyon series is going to be very telling. I mean, I know it's only a week, but realistically, you got, I don't know, you got a month. You lose any 2 series from here on out, season's done. Season's over. No MSI, no nothing, no titles. We've already dropped out from EWZ qualifiers, so like, we could have a long off season if this doesn't turn around. Okay, as of right now, going into playoffs, I would argue even though we are the 3rd seed, FlyQuest is progressing quick. I would personally put us 4th in the league right now. C9 at 1, Lyon at 2, FlyQuest at 3, us at 4, especially given that we've lost our 2 head-to-heads against FlyQuest. So this needs to turn around real quick, where we're going to have a long off season between spring and summer with a lot of questions to be answered. Around the org news, we have to celebrate one particular announcement, and that is Pobelter has joined the org as a content creator, which is great. It's somebody that I personally, like, I did not watch early on League of Legends, so his CLG days were a little bit different. Like, I just wasn't there for that. Wait, was he on CLG? No, he was mid during the CLG. He was on Immortals? I did not watch enough pre-2018. I've always associated Pobelzer with Team Liquid, like that 2018 year just permanently stuck in my brain that like he is TL. I'm curious to see what kind of content they do and maximize out on him, because that's the main reason you sign content creators. And I think this is a great match, a great org fit. The question is, how do you build fandom from there? And only time will tell with this, but it's a great start. It's somebody that the Reddit seems very receptive to, YouTube and beyond. Everybody seems happy about it. So let's see what kind of long-term promises they can give to you, the fans, because you ultimately, and your passion and your care, are the most important part of this equation. The other around the org bit is that we did get one video separate from that announcement, and it was Lyon reviewing a Jinxie game from his tournament, which I must say, even though the editing was a little bit lackluster for my taste, it was like very cut and dry. I know that's the VOD review style that we've seen from Team Liquid as of late. I do love the concept of the video, personally. Taking pro players and reviewing like streamer games or like big moments in culture within League of Legends is actually really important to do. It allows you to reflect, but also put into perspective like current situations and how good these guys actually are if they can sit here and explain to you why something's wrong. It gives you an appreciation. There was one little tidbit that he dropped in the video that I'm going to be using on the co-stream from now on, and that is whenever like Jose wants to go for apparently like a dragon or a baron or beyond, and either a mid lane or a top lane or greeds for a wave, he calls them a piggy. He'll say Quid's pigging out, and I'm gonna use that, Jose. That is great verbiage, and we only learned about that because of a content piece that was put out. So I appreciate that from Team Liquid and from Lyon. Good job, man. If you haven't checked out that video, I'll make sure it's linked down in the description below. Beyond that, is there anything else around the org or just general notes? I don't really think so. I think we got to get into this playoff preview against Lyon, because this is going to be a dangerous team to play. This is when we know that they turn it on each and every time. Dokla specifically gets better this time of year. Now, I think the castle, like bringing him in, sped up that timeline a little bit, which is why Dokla has looked pretty good in the wins that they've had. I know some people contest that point, but I just think he's generally looked good. And this is when he typically turns it on in North America as well. So Lyon, even though we lost to them 2 weeks ago, is, in my opinion, going to be an even more dangerous squad. Do I think that Castle plays? Not necessarily, no. I don't think that Castle's going to go in unless there's a specific comp that they want to play. I think Lyon in general looks worse whenever Castle's in. They have not figured out how to play around him. They also haven't set him up with the best drafts he had the first time in his series against us. But in theory, that barrier will be slowing down and resolving as time goes on. So all eyes are on Morgan to step up. And again, Saints versus Quid. If Quid shows up like he has the last 2 weeks, this series is going to simply be a problem. Jose on form, we know he can contend. The bot lane, we know that they can play well and get early lane leads and get kills. Like it genuinely, there's not anything I can individually isolate here other than Morgan being able to keep up, not even keep up. Dokla's got bad laning stats. He should be able to beat Dokla. And then if Castle's in, at least go even with him. But more importantly, like all eyes are on mid. Quid's got to turn it around, has to hit abilities, and hopefully our comp is easier to execute, because our mid-game macro is just not great right now. We're not making the right decisions, so make it easier on ourselves and at least give us more go buttons that don't have to be so intricately layered or poke people out or have these lanes that have to get ahead and hold out and win. Like, give us options within these drafts. And at the end of the day, just show up. A win here would go a very long way to course correcting the last 2 weeks of faltering play. Who cares if you lose to Lyon in the regular season? Who cares if you drop a best of 3, if you win the best of 5 in playoffs? That's what we need to do right now, okay? So I know people are gonna get jaded. I know others are gonna look at this and be like, you know, I'm down and out, Lyon's gonna be favored. We can absolutely do this. Screw any expectations, screw the last few weeks, come in, mentally reset, and again, clean and decisive. Clean and decisive. That's what I will keep saying over and over and over again. I should probably add execute onto that, because you have to be able to hit your abilities. That would probably be a good thing to add. So clean, decisive, and execute. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you haven't done so, be sure to drop a sub on the channel, turn that notification bell on to be notified of any time we put videos out, or well, I put videos out here. I'm glad I finally got back out to this tree and could film a proper video here, because man, is it nice out. Now, if you don't mind me, I want to go for a walk.